pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an agenda in front of us here, and Kendra and I talked just a little bit before we got started and switched a few things around. Steve and Kendra would like us to approve the return of civilian mail-in ballots at the beginning so that other people can start opening those letters. We're going to do it by hand rather than using the machine this time. And then we'll go back to a discussion about preparation for early voting, which will include questions related to voter intimidation, observers, campaigners, election officials, and COVID preparations, procedures for how people can turn in their absentee by mail ballots in an early voting site, election security at early voting sites in the BOE office, and appropriate board member conduct when visiting voting sites. Because this is a regular meeting, we are going to put in some time for citizen input through the chat monitor. So any citizens that are listening and would like to contribute or ask a question, go ahead and send your comments through the chat monitor, and after we finish the discussion of preparations for early voting, we'll address those questions or comments. And then the final thing we'll do is approve the military ballots and the overseas ballots. Anybody have any comments or questions about the agenda? Yes?
So when you go to the part about opening letters by hand, I'd like to participate with a conversation there. So I like to endorse hand opening and not to use the electronic envelope opener.
That's the idea for today.
I think for the future,
well,
more than today, will be what I'm going to discuss.
Fine.
Much more than today.
Okay. So, anything else? All right, maybe we can get started then on this again for people that have not watched this meeting before. Approving the civilian envelopes. These are the envelopes. We close the ballots that people in Chatham County have returned their votes in, and we're just looking at the back of the envelope to make sure that there is a voter signature and the witness information is there. It's already been checked by the staff here at the Board of Elections, so we're just making a spot check. So that keeping abreast with what's going on.
Can you say for the we're in the audience how many ballots we got?
598.
598
for tonight, right?
civilian,
Yes.
plus there's
2 military and 10 overseas.
2 military, 10 overseas.
We have a few that didn't go in the report. Oh, we scanned them too quick.
Good? All right.
You ready?
Board, come on, take a look at them, please. while the board's looking at the envelopes, if they could come and check the numbers on the machine, sign, and check it to make sure there's nothing in the ballot bags.
Steve, how many of these do you have that are sort of in limbo right now?
Probably, I don't have an exact number, if I were to estimate 60 to 80.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we heard anything from the state
No,
about when?
still waiting.
And can those folks whose ballots have not been approved, can they vote?
Yes, they can go
Early
vote
voting?
early. Yeah, just because they're in the system as pending cure or witness incomplete, that doesn't mean, it just basically means it's waiting on a solution. It doesn't mean their ballot has been counted yet. So if they go vote early, they can do that. When they vote early, then it will automatically store that ballot.
Okay,
Yeah.
and those folks whose ballots are in limbo are aware of the fact that their ballot is in limbo?
Some of them are and some of them aren't. We're not allowed to contact the voters. Based on the memo, all we're supposed to do is hold everything back.
Steve, what's that note for?
Is this
Oh,
important?
sorry.
Okay.
It's one of those that we scanned too quick. They weren't on the original list, but they were after we put them on.
Keep them together.
Yes, please.
So again, for the public, if you have mailed in a ballot and,
You can easily do it then.
Yeah,
and you have not found out that the ballot has been counted, you can sign up that way, or you can contact the Board of Elections and ask about the status of your ballot, and at that point, you would have to tell them that their ballot is in limbo.
Ballot tracks will, if they're signed up in ballot tracks, they will come back and tell them whether it got accepted or it got.
But if they're not signed up in ballot
If
tracks.
not, then they would need to call our office or go on ballot tracks.
Okay, so if you're wondering and you haven't signed up for ballot tracks, go ahead and call the office if you're wondering about the status of your ballot. All these ones are like that.
I know this one and this one checked. I don't think I checked. Or I didn't check.
Should we go ahead and sign this or wait?
No, I would wait until y'all do it. 'Cause you sign those after you.
Oh, after.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was this.
Come on. Frank, come on over here and take a look at these to make sure. Checking to make sure these are empty. Checking to make sure that number there was where we left it off, which is where we left it off here, and which is what it's got on the paper. Sign and pay.
Everything else has been done?
Yep.
Sign that one sheet right here.
So Amy, if you want to come around and.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying this.
Sign and the other machines. 2171.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
come take a look at this one. I'm seeing, this is the number,
That's
2112.
lifetime. This is the number you're looking for,
1928.
1928.
So what's this mean?
I don't know why that number's on. It should be 1928.
I see 1928
Yeah.
here.
That's just needs to be marked off.
You want me to
Yeah, just scratch it off.
and you want me to put error?
And we take these out, put new ones anywhere on there. This is the main number you're looking at. This is the main number you're looking at right here.
So I'll put 15.
Yeah.
How's that?
And then just looking at the verify.
No, my wife was.
Fluctuations on
I can see when he smiles about it.
Steve,
may just be
Ma'am?
together.
what are these two different?
One's for military, and one's for.
Okay.
Oh, this is the one that they check, and then you guys are gonna get your own list.
My understanding was
What's this?
we were gonna.
This is the list y'all are gonna do tonight
Friday,
after,
we talked.
Okay.
after, this is, so before we bring these into you, our staff has to check them. After the meeting, your staff checks them again.
I know.
Or
Not
the
every
board
week,
checks them.
not every week, we just.
Yes. Yeah, this, see, they check them off here.
Oh, okay.
So now y'all are gonna do that after we're done. I just keep it together just as a, information purposes.
So if we had two ballots, we gotta do it.
Okay.
All right, so, can we, agree to approve these ballots?
Yeah.
These signed civilian ballots? Okay.
Anyways,
I make a motion, Amy second.
Okay.
Everybody's in favor.
So we can start opening them?
Not us.
Not us.
we'll do that while y'all are discussing that.
Okay.
You're all gonna have a meeting while
We're gonna have a meeting while you're
Slice
finally
and dice.
gonna slice those open.
All right.
All right.
Don't hurt yourself.
You can cut them too, so it's been proven.
So Sandor, are you gonna
Um,
lead us on this section, the preparation for early voting?
You already said about the public, right?
Yes.
Do you wanna let your Frank get back?
Oh, sorry.
I can't talk really this long.
We can hear you. We can hear you. We really can.
It makes me not read good though. Cause it's kind of hard.
Okay, so now we're gonna talk about preparations for early voting, which begins on Thursday.
Yeah, so, today, all of the, except for Siler City and Goldston's, early voting supplies have been delivered. Pittsburgh has started setting up, the CCCC site at Ballantrae Port has started setting up, and also at Governor's Village. And also New Hope, right, Steve?
Yes, New Hope, Governor's Village, CCC, the three.
All of them but Siler City and, Goldston has had their supplies delivered. And the site managers have been there and had, other workers come and assist, setting up voting booths and, everything but the computers. And the vote equipment, of course, is not, set up. We, today, we did order, we've been waiting on the pins to come from the state, you know, they're supposed to supply us with ink pens for every voter. Haven't got those yet. Don't know when they'll be delivered, I've been trying to find out, but I went ahead today and ordered 800 dozen of pens to start out with. Just so we would have something to start out with, at each site. Didn't want us to get there and not have pens for voters. So that, they should be here tomorrow. We ordered vests today for the greeters, ordered 4 per site, two, orange and lime green. So whenever, people come up to, turn in their ballots, the greeters should be someplace near the entrance, if they're not on the outside of the, early voting site. Hopefully, we can have some signage to say, to the voters. If you're just bringing your absentee ballot back, then you can come straight and look for the greeter. And if some voters who are limited with, you know, walking or whatever, if they want to come to the curbside to return their ballot, they can do that.
Okay.
We'll have the person come outside with the log for them to sign as to who they are or the voter's near relative. So they can bring the ballot to curbside. But that is for people who is unable to, you know, walk a distance or whatever. We're not encouraging everybody to bring their ballots to the curbside. If you're able to get out, we encourage them to get out. Now, if they're high risk of COVID or whatever, that's another issue.
So you've ordered some signs that would make it clear to people bringing in their ballots?
I haven't ordered any, we may have to make some, because of the, I've got some signs that I think I can fix to make them look like they were, you know, just so they'll know where to come to bring them. But they can come to any entrance of the early vote site to bring the ballot back.
So,
Entrance,
I'm sorry, how many greeters are we gonna have per,
can't you,
how many greeters are we gonna have per
it
shift?
depends on the site and how busy it is at that moment. They could have up to 2, could
Okay.
maybe have 3. Just depends on how busy they are at the site, as to how many people they may have on the outside, because you may have a couple of curbside people outside too. And it's just up to that site and the site manager at any particular moment as to what, you know, what's needed at that time.
Okay,
But they do have enough workers where they can, you know, have more than one greeter if needed.
Might be good to have some sign making materials at the early voting site, so if they see the need for signs, they can put up some more.
Yeah, and we can bring them pretty much, because we go there just about every day. Somebody's going back, so we'll be able to make the sign. Hopefully, we can have them before it starts on Thursday morning.
I've noticed in video of other early voting sites and other places, that they've made an effort to mark on the floors where people should stand to maintain social distance. Are you doing that?
Yes, we will do that.
Is that inside and outside the enclosure?
It will probably be inside and outside, especially outside for people who don't have enough space to socially distance.
They're using painter tape.
You're using
They're using the blue painter tape.
Okay,
And they're going 6 feet. We showed them today in all the sites. They're going
Great.
6 feet and putting a little blue painter tape on there.
great, okay.
So they know where to stand, yeah. And then at Goldston, we have tents, 4 tents that's gonna be on the sidewalk. And also at CCCC, at Ballantrae, we'll have some tents in case the line goes out, if it's raining or something,
Good.
voters will have something to stand under.
Good.
But I think the rest of the sites have a long enough haul, right, Steve, where the voters may not.
The only one is the CCC one. We're gonna have tents for that.
Yeah, we got tents for
And
that.
Golson, the ag building should be more than
And the
enough
gym,
space.
I think they did an upfit on the gym, they painted and in Dollar City. So if you go visit, you should see that. They made it look really nice for us to vote in, so, we were glad about that. We have signs that, we had to have where it tells you all the early voting sites and where the locations are, in case if you're in line and you don't wanna wait that long, you have a choice where you can go to any of the other sites. We have a new curbside sign that let people know that, curbside voting is for anybody who may not be able to wear a mask for some medical reason, or anyone who may have a phobia of getting COVID, but they will have to take the oath, and sign it whenever they go to curbside, or for somebody who don't wanna wear a mask at all. So we are encouraging voters to wear, masks and also socially distance. And then, of course, inside of the early voting sites, we will have, the officials will be cleaning the voting booths. And if any voter would like to have gloves, we'll have them available. Gloves are available. We have masks available if somebody doesn't come with one. Also, everybody will have their own pen. Our workers will be wearing masks, And also maybe face shields, they'll have plexiglass in front of them. So, but any extra precautions that you as the voter would like to make is welcomed as well. We'll do our part. We can just do it all together, help each other out. So, I think once we get started, we'll see where we are, and then whatever needs to be fixed, we'll correct it. We'll go from there. You know, sometimes we always have a kind of rough start, but then it smooths out as we go. Anything else I missed?
What about ventilation? I've been reading lately that ventilation is pretty important.
We have the ServPro is going to, this is the company that we got, that's gonna clean all of the early voting sites once we leave, and the school gyms. They're gonna let us use 6 air scrubbers, for each early voting site. I don't know if they bought those today, did they?
We did.
I gave him the schedule, so he'll probably bring them out before early voting start. But, he's gonna let us use 6 air scrubbers.
Is that something that,
That's to clean the air.
so it's operating, it's
Mhm.
a plug-in kind of
I
thing?
don't know how big it is, I haven't seen it.
Huh.
He offered that service to us, so we were like, yeah, we'll take it. As
Most
an
of the-
addition.
Most of the sites are pretty big, like
Yeah.
gyms and all that, so they should be fairly well ventilated.
And they can leave doors open if they need to, I mean, and if you got your mask on, yeah.
Yeah.
That should take care of it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, I'm only asking for clarification, because I have here Karen Brinsenbell's October 9 guidance for voting locations. She's talking about face masks now.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, encourage all voters to wear face coverings.
Mm-hmm.
Offer a face covering to voters who are not wearing it,
Mm-hmm.
unless the voter says they have an exception for some reason. Now, here's the thing. If a voter has an exception, the election worker should try to make an accommodation by providing curbside service, just like you said. Here comes the rest of the sentence. Or by allowing the customer to enter without a face covering.
Mm-hmm.
They should not be turned away if they do not wear a face covering.
Exactly.
So what are we gonna do at our 6 sites? Are they gonna do curbside only and be prevented from entering the space, or are they gonna be able to enter the space without?
If they insist, they'll be able to enter the, site. We'll hopefully have a voting booth or something that's set maybe off from, make sure they're in a space where they're protected and other people are protected. But they will not be turned away. No one will be turned away from, voting, regardless, because of a face mask.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about, the COVID preparations before we move into other issues? Okay, you wanna go back to voter intimidation?
Yes, because, that's a broad topic. Voter intimidation, like I said, is a broad topic. We are to protect the voter within the 50-foot buffer, the 50 feet from the door of the voting place. No one is to hinder, harass, or do any other kind of means to keep a voter from getting into the voting place. Now, what goes on outside the 50-foot buffer, we don't have a lot of control of that. So if you have people out there who may have different types of signage, flags, whatever, because what's intimidating to some people may not be intimidating to others. And the guidance that I've taken from it is, if you feel intimidated that much by what you see when you come up, then the person should call our office. We will contact the person inside of the early voting site. If they're still afraid and intimidated, then we will call the law enforcement officers to escort them into the voting place. That's the only solution I know how to handle that. Because whatever they do outside the 50 foot, you know, you can't, it's a forum. You know, they say that's a public forum out there. unless they're getting out of hand and breaking laws.
They're not allowed to block the access
Exactly.
to the 50-foot buffer.
Yes.
The sidewalk needs to stay open.
Exactly. Or they shouldn't be calling people names or picking on certain groups or any type of intimidation like that, because you will be fined or, penalized for it. So, but if there is something going on that is that intimidating to a voter, they should call the office or try to contact the site manager inside or one of the workers so they can be escorted into the voting site.
I hope that the greeters and the curbside people would also be kind of monitoring what's going on outside and raise an issue if they think there's a problem.
Exactly. But there's not, like I said, a lot that we can do about what intimidates somebody other than try to protect them, as they move forward. Now, if there are people out there who are out of order, they can, people have been trained to call the law enforcement officers, and that person will be escorted off the premises or whatever, especially if it's gonna be escalating into some other type of trouble. And we have been in contact with the Sheriff's Department, and they are gonna be accessible to us by a phone call. So they know, they're aware of the situation, and they are gonna talk to the city police too, for Pittsburgh and Siler City. So they gave us a number that we could call if we need immediate assistance, and they do that.
And we have gotten guidance from the state that it's not appropriate to have a police officer stationed
Right,
at a polling place.
exactly.
That could be intimidating
Mhm.
in and of itself. So
Exactly.
it's just a question of calling if we've got a real problem.
Right, exactly.
May I ask a question?
Mhm.
Is the Chatham County Sheriff interpreted as intimidating? How do we come to that conclusion?
You mean like his presence or?
Well, Karen Grissom Bell here in her memo says, the same woman, that some voters find law enforcement at the polls intimidating. Yet we're sitting here having a conversation, we're gonna call law enforcement.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a schizophrenic approach to
Well, they can't be
managing
that,
polls.
well, it depends on what we're calling him for. If he's needed, yes, he can be there. Now, if you're just calling him up to come and nothing's happening, you can't do that. Nobody can't be out there in uniform unless they're coming to vote. That's the presence of the law enforcement officer. You could have plainclothes people out. Nobody would know who they are, but you can't do that in uniform.
There's historically precedent for that
Exactly.
in the past. Other locations have used law enforcement to intimidate certain
Yes.
voters. And so, I don't know if it's a law, but it's certainly been the custom throughout the South to try to not do that.
So I want to put out, I think that the Chatham Sheriff's Department deputies take a similar oath that we took, be sitting in these chairs, to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state.
I would assume that.
I would assume, I haven't seen their oath.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
It's not that we're implying that the Chatham County Sheriff's Office is intimidating to voters. It's that the best practice is not to have
On site.
law
visibly,
enforcement
Visibly.
And
in
Laura,
the presence
in the
there.
past, have we had any problems with police officers wearing uniforms at the voting places?
We've never had them there. No.
Never have.
We've never had to have any there. But it's just like, I said with anything else. What intimidates one person may not intimidate another. And what intimidates you as an individual, that's your personal feelings and thoughts. Nobody can't talk you out of it either. So if it's intimidating, different things make some people more afraid than others. So, we have to do the best we can to make sure that they feel safe, regardless.
We're talking about this issue now because it's such a highly partisan election, and because we have had some conflicts in Chatham County over the last year about Confederate flags, about the removal of the monument at the courthouse. So there's high feelings, and we just want to make sure that people's voting experience is not,
Caught up in the mix of that.
that's exactly right, yeah.
Caught up in the mix of that. And we had that issue, you know, at the early voting site, the last time, so.
So let's just be clear, were the sheriff department deputies flying the Confederate flag or pulling down the statue at the
Of
courthouse?
course not, of course not.
These are examples which are just cited to this
I'm
group.
talking about partisanship in the county, and those are the examples of high feeling which can create controversy amongst people that are mixing together to vote. That's what I'm talking about. And having the police there, in addition, can augment feelings that people have. And so we're trying to find a happy medium where everybody feels safe and where we have recourse if we need it.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's see. Okay, we've talked about returning absentee ballots. A reminder that observers and anybody connected with voting, apart from the voters themselves, are required to wear masks inside the voting site. That's important.
And even campaigners that may come in to use the bathroom, I guess they are required to wear a mask as well.
Well, could you talk about board member conduct when visiting the voting sites?
And I had a request after that.
Board members are allowed to go and visit the voting sites, of course. It's been recommended that you not just hang out, because of course there may be something that happened where you may have to make a decision on, and you could end up being a part of it, and then you have to recuse yourself. So, but yeah, you're allowed to go in. You can see how, make sure everything is set up, make sure that everybody's doing their job correctly, on the outside as well. But you shouldn't be hanging out like for hours as well, so.
And you shouldn't be taking up the time of the poll workers who are trying to serve
Yeah.
voters.
Yeah.
Do you have badges for us or anything that we can wear?
I think Chance probably is making some.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that was my request.
Important to wear.
I don't have them now, though. He's actually out there helping them set up,
I still have mine.
the early voting site.
Yeah, if you have one from the past, that's fine. I wasn't sure if everybody had
Frank probably doesn't have one,
a badge.
because this will be his first time going. And if there's anything wrong, if you go to the polling place, you know, let us know. I don't know, it depends on what it is, but you probably shouldn't have to call out the person there at the polling place. Let us know and we'll deal with it, or we can deal with it after they come out of the polling place.
Hopefully, we've got enough staff this time, so Mark doesn't have to help with the voting process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I hope not even more, but thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job.
That was fun.
That's what I always heard.
Yeah, we have enough people on the paper. If they show up, that'd be wonderful. You know, sometimes we can't help circumstances, so. And I think Chance has people he can pull, you know, from other places.
Are you all gonna have anybody here in the office helping out while early voting's going on?
You mean for,
Like answering the phones,
we
helping
have a
Steve
couple
out with all of
people.
this?
Yeah, we have a couple people.
Okay.
Because a lot of the people that were helping are early voting workers and
Yeah.
they worked at the early voting sites, which we appreciate that help. We couldn't have got through what we did without them. So,
I've been reading some amazing stories from around the country, the first days of early voting, with huge lines and people very eager to vote. So
Yeah.
I assume we'll be fully staffed up the first day.
yeah, we will. We will. I hope we will. We're depending on the ones that said yes. Yep.
Right. Okay.
So,
So any other questions about preparations for early voting? Does anybody,
We do actually have a question from the stream.
okay.
this is the time for it then.
Okay, great. Would you like me to read it out or write it down?
You can, yeah.
Yeah, just let us know what it is.
Okay, so the question is, how will voters who feel intimidated know to call the Board of Elections office for help getting into the the polling place.
What was that again?
How will voters who feel intimidated know to call the Board of Elections office for help getting into the polling place?
I don't know, to be honest. That's, and I just said it there, so if somebody can let people know that,
Can we put it on our website?
we can. We can put it on the website, but most people, a lot of people don't go to the website.
I know, but let's do everything we can do.
Yeah, we'll have signage or something, well, they won't be able to see it if we
Can
don't
you,
have it.
can you also remind the greeters and the poll workers that that's something voters can do if they hear a complaint as people come in saying, that was really scary out there,
Yeah, yeah.
they can
That
say,
would- that
call
would-
the board of.
It would be good if they could know before they got there.
Is there a way that a press release could go out from the county manager's office?
We probably could just put the press release out that Gannon put out.
I know Chatham News and Record is doing a story on this, so they'll have this information that way.
Yeah,
On intimidation?
Yeah.
Okay,
and we can put the, link to what the state has on their site too. They have a good, thing on here about, intimidation.
yeah, the more information you can put up,
We'll do that.
Is it worth trying to put something out on the chat list?
We could do it on next door.
Okay.
I mean, I don't wanna make it sound like we're expecting intimidation to be a big issue. And it
However,
is.
we did have an issue in March,
That's right.
and,
That's
you
right.
know,
And people were intimidated.
Yeah.
people were intimidated, and, you know, we talked a lot in April and May about what needed to happen so that was not a problem or an issue again. So, you know, if folks are feeling intimidated, then they need to know
What to do.
exactly.
And we can encourage our friends on Facebook to put links to
Yes.
anything that Bill says. It doesn't have to all be official. We can, as individuals, get the word out.
I expect also there's gonna be, a number of, at least judging from the email I'm getting, there's a number of people that are gonna be outside the polls, kind of watching to see what's going on at a lot of different polling sites, and so they may be contacting the elections office if they see problems as well.
Yeah, Democracy Now.
Excuse me?
I said Democracy Now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Was that the only comment or question?
So far.
Okay, well,
The only other comment was just appreciating the lawyer's explanations to the public, but
okay.
that was the only question.
Okay, well, the chat monitor stays open, we're gonna move on to, working on these ballots, but if something comes in, that looks like, I mean, that you wanna share with us as it comes in, that'd be fine.
Certainly.
To piggyback on what you said,
Yeah.
people that are gonna be watching,
Yeah,
just so the public understands that the parties have submitted names that are observers, and those are the only ones that are permitted inside the voting enclosure to monitor.
right,
Those that are quote unquote outside saying they're gonna be monitoring polls are not allowed to come inside the polling location unless they're actually voting, and that's
right,
it.
right.
So make sure that the public understands that.
They'll probably have some signage on them or something.
The observers will have, yeah, they'll have IDs on, or.
No, I mean, the people outside will probably,
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
have a little notebook or a something that they're
yeah.
getting information for. All right, so should we move on to, opening ballots or pulling out ballots and running through the machine, is that where we are?
Let's do it. When do we talk about the automatic envelope opening?
Well, maybe we can talk about it as we open up ballots, how's that sound?
I don't like it. I don't want to do that.
Now, it's open, you wanna talk first?
I'm ready to talk when I have the floor.
Okay, yeah,
So, 4 days ago, we used that automatic electronic letter opening device to open envelopes. And we had some damage to some enclosed ballots. We spent several hours trying to reconstruct damaged ballots, and for that reason, I suggest to this group that we don't use that machine anymore, but rather open ballots by hand. And when we occasionally will damage a ballot when we open by hand, but it's much easier to reconstruct a damaged ballot if you open it by hand. So, and I just suggest that there were too many ballots damaged, and that, you know, if we have to open by hand, and then we work harder and longer, and avoid that machine that I grew to hate. And if we decide to use that machine in the future, I want to be put down that I don't approve of that in the minutes, so that I will have at least a dissenting opinion.
I actually agree with him on this. I mean, I think that we spent a lot of time on Friday, not just as a board, but other members who were doing other things in the office, putting together things, and there's a lot of ambiguity with a couple of races. So I agree with you, Frank. I think that doing it by hand is, you know, while it is a little bit longer, it's the time that we save in not having to reconstruct ballots.
I would like to say something. Whenever, it's been proven when we did it at the other meeting and I was opening the ballots, we didn't have that many cut. It worked, and I just feel like if the CARES Act paid for this machine, we paid over $2,000 for that machine. And I think it can be used effectively if it's done, with patience. So we can't put but so many in at a time, and we open it up on the right end. It's necessary, and I think we did it, and we did it pretty good at the meeting before this one. Yeah, it was pretty butchered.
It was very butchered.
Yeah, but I think it can be done.
What was the problem Friday, you think?
It was the way they put it in there, and also it was too many.
I mean, staff was too big.
Yes. And they opened them on the other edge, the skinny edge, not the thick edge. So I think it can be done effectively. I think we shouldn't count it out.
We have got another question and comment from the chat. If now's a good time.
Okay.
One person just wants to say that not everybody knows the Board of Election phone number, and that they'd like that to be prominently displayed at the polling place.
Okay. I think it is on that wallpaper thing, but it may not be that big.
But
It
is
would
it
have to be
outside?
outside though.
Let's continue with this topic.
Yeah.
Okay, but take a note of that. Good
Yeah.
idea to post the Board of Elections number outside.
I can hold the question till a different time if that'd be better.
Yeah, let us get through this conversation. Pandora, I hear your comment. I just feel like, you know, we're getting fewer and fewer ballots in. It took us longer to deal with, you know, 800 some ballots on Friday because of having to reconstruct some new ballots than it did on Tuesday night when we had over 1,400 ballots. So,
Tuesday era.
yes, and at the same time, you know,
I'm okay with whatever you decide. You're the board.
okay.
It's y'all's decision.
And I hear what you're saying, but, you know,
Yeah, I hear you.
I just think you know, the office needs more training on that machine. And maybe the biggest election we've ever had is not the time to do the training.
Well, we really need a lot of training. But y'all make that decision. I'll do whatever you tell me to do.
Well, my sense is that I think by default should be opening by hand. But it'd be nice if, for whatever circumstances dictate we're swamped, and Pandora, trained operator, is here, we maybe give it a shot if we're jammed up, but I'm fine with doing it by hand as our default.
Any comments?
Do both.
I'm ready.
So I haven't heard a motion.
Frank, are you making a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we don't use the machine and open by hand. We don't use the machine and open by hand.
Would you entertain an amendment that an emergency and doors operate the machine?
No, I think my opinion, I stated my opinion hasn't changed. And, so, not use machine, open by hand is
Yeah,
my
I'll vote
proposal.
for that.
Okay, all in favor?
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Mr. Raymond still.
Opposed?
Me.
Me. So 3-2, we're never gonna use the, opener. So,
We go over there, we go over there.
I think it's easier on them if we go over there, and then they don't
Sorry.
have to just. Huh?
I'll just donate it to another department.
Can you return it?
No, it's CARES money on it.
Start down here.
From that end, that will go this way, so
Okay.
Can I just
Amy.
start feeding him?
Maybe
Yeah.
it's yours.
Okay, well, thank you, sir.
Which stack,
all of those stacks have been opened.
which machine would you like me to choose?
You can choose either, all three of them are operational. Just like the envelopes, that's the same like we've been doing. They've all been opened.
Where am I? Where is it?
Just, taking the balance out of the envelope.
I think we can do that, right?
Oh, the first one. Slice.
There you go.
That wasn't that nice. You get with your wedding machine, so that's
Where's your grandson?
Boring.
He's bored?
Yeah. 13 years old.
Oh, no.
Machine has a paper down.
Everything is new. Doesn't like the, hey,
Mrs. Frank.
kids, friends. That's the thing. Otherwise, it's all right.
Got it. Got the touch.
Please. Don't forget.
I won't forget you, I'll disappear and send you a check.
At the same time. I thought he was. Maybe he's not gonna come tomorrow. I don't know.
You see them hook them up and you just tell them.
He's gonna have to, well, he'll probably have to show somebody.
Because what we told Steve, with the power backups, he's gonna take them to all 6 locations.
Are you having any other questions or comments that are coming through the
Oh,
chat?
yes, ma'am, we do have one question.
Okay, y'all, there's another question.
Okay, so this question is, asking whether the board has considered what to do if firearms are present at polling places.
If firearms are present at polling places?
I've got an answer for that question. Hold on a minute. I can send to the state. We've asked several times about it.
Maybe we could stop the machine for just a second while you read the answer.
So this was a question that was imposed by somebody else in another county, which we've asked the same questions in the past. Are there any laws that, this is asked to the State Board of Elections, are there any laws that prohibit someone from having a registered concealed weapon within a voting location? And and this is the answer they got back. It said, when counties ask us whether firearms can be carried in certain buildings that are used as polling places, we tell them that the only limits imposed on the carrying of weapons are those that are generally applicable outside of the election context, such as prohibiting weapons from polling places if those locations are on school property, in courthouses, etc. And if a private building bans or restricts firearms in some way in the normal course of business, we don't require the building to do something different as a condition of using it as a polling place. We don't have any legal authority to regulate firearms. So we know that on government property, people are not allowed to carry guns inside. I don't know outside of the 50-foot buffer. I don't know about that. I did propose that to the sheriff. I haven't got an answer back yet. But as far as carrying them into the building, most of our polling places are either in some type of government building or a church, and it's up to the private entity as to whether or not they allow firearms. So that's.
It also, the law also applies to any government property, which includes the land outside the school. I know that because of the protest at the courthouse.
What about the agricultural building?
Same thing.
That's county building, okay.
Yeah.
So county
The
property.
county does not allow firearms on their property, not just the building.
Unless you're a law enforcement officer, right?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, I'm glad we finally got an answer for that
So
one.
if somebody has one, then of course you can call law enforcement officers to escort them home, right?
Yep.
Don't we have signs that say that?
We don't have signs. I tried to get a sign. Nobody would give me one. Even asked the attorney for a sign.
Oh, we have it.
I think people are afraid.
We have in the past put no
No
firearms.
No firearms, yeah.
Yeah.
Really visible.
I love the dragonfly shirt you're wearing today. As always.
Somebody can start changing that.
So, where are we next? Machine?
Yep.
Somebody else will do that.
Two machines. I don't think it's
Yeah, let's
done.
Are they
You
open?
wanna feed or do you wanna,
There's an open one.
I've got
as long
some
as
here.
there's one
somebody
open here if
can
you wanna feed, or I can feed, it doesn't matter.
We probably should have a Republican feeding.
Okay. Grab.
Can we go? Whether you want to feed, you want me to feed? I'll feed. Drop these on the floor, right?
Yeah, put the band over them and put it on. Yes, sir.
Right. Right here with you?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
With these envelopes.
All right.
Give me another one, somebody. Give me that. Tired of- Oh, yeah. I need to get, well, we'll have to have some individual. We'll have to have some individual stuff. Well, like a bag lunch or a box. Social distancing.
What's our situation on Friday? Will we have a quorum?
I
Can you come?
have it on my schedule, dude.
Amy,
Yeah.
can you come?
I can come.
Charles? No. Mark?
When?
Friday?
I can't come Friday.
Okay. Well, we've got three. That's what we need.
Oh, we had three last time.
possible my job will start later in the day. If it does, I'll come in the morning.
Okay.
You actually might be leaving here in a decent hour, huh? Never have another pandemic.
What?
I hope we never have another pandemic.
We all hope we never have another pandemic.
We get out of this. Yeah, yeah, leave up there. I thought I
So
was.
Steve, were you
Yeah,
able to get
yeah, I just
ballots
took it all.
yesterday?
Ma'am?
Were you able to get ballots yesterday or from the
No,
mail
that's why y'all are gonna have quite a few.
on Friday?
Yeah, we had a lot today. The post office was closed.
Yeah.
We got the ballots from the weekend.
That's right, 'cause yesterday was fun.
Yeah.
How many came in today? How many came in today?
Basically, a
Full meal tray.
full mail tray, so
What's that mean?
So, hey, what's this?
Lots.
50 in that mail tray.
I got an error. Ballot did not scan.
What
Machine
is
did not
this
locate
thing?
one more
I
card.
just happened to notice that.
We put all
That means
What does that mean?
contest.
It means they can't find these timing marks.
Okay.
It means somebody probably used whiteout. Turn it one more time over like this. If it doesn't
Can't find the black one?
yeah, it's either somebody used whiteout or it can't find the
And
size.
if it's one,
If it's one, okay, so it needs to be transcribed. If
So,
somebody whites out these things and they white out like the little box, they can't find the box, then it's gonna say, put it down here and we'll transcribe it. Yep,
You just put it underneath the,
yeah,
underneath your file, so it doesn't get lost.
They're not having fun right now?
My dad called, they haven't seen it. Yeah, you can do it, just sit there. And
so what is the thing?
my dad's old school, you know, very story, when they wake up and walk 10 miles to school with no shoes. That's my dad right there. Old school. Yeah, when I was ready to get a car, my dad went,
School is what it is.
So these are ready to go.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see them both ways.
That ain't Greece, this is.
A lot of kids on the farm, they have to do their farm chores before they go to school.
My dad, yeah, we never know when we first bought the restaurant, I don't think I was 15 or 12. He told the dishwasher, have a seat to have a coffee, come on, let's start washing dishes. So I don't care if you're on the sun, you can teach you work ethic. So I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and open up the restaurant. I always wanted to do sports, play some football, I'm like, what are you talking about? Sports.
No problem, you gotta go get the cows in and get them hooked
Yeah.
up and milk before you get money.
That part I like, when we were in Greece for 2 years, I used to go through the goat herd and all.
And then we had 3 nice days of rain, so it was perfect.
Yeah.
My brother didn't, he hated it. He used to wake up and
It's
walk
gonna
the
get
mountain
cold
in
this
the rain.
weekend.
Right.
That's supposed to go down to like 35 one night.
I saw 38, 35, it's getting cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have to
Little
close the
early
windows
for
when it gets to
frost.
35.
Oh, you from Nebraska?
80 degrees, you know. Few days, but-
Okay, so, we need to talk about this one. See, they widened out that one.
I understand, but you gotta cast it as is. Yeah. We had that conversation, on Friday. The voter's not here and,
Well, we clearly knew what their intent was, they widened it out for one they didn't want.
yeah,
They turned it in,
they turned it in and brought it.
that's what we
And it does, and it does say in the instructions, if you face it,
And the
return
time
it
marking,
for,
they
face
didn't,
it,
and the
return
time
it
marking
for
didn't work
replacement.
and you couldn't take it, then when y'all are transcribing it, then you can clearly do that. If it's taken,
It tells you right here, Mark, too.
that's your only choice.
Okay.
Too bad.
You guys think of every.
Well, it's not us, Steve, it's the state.
What does that mean?
Hey,
This must be somebody who was told they had to do it over.
oh, like a second one?
Yeah.
We'll think about it.
Who was that? Had the cat.
Did somebody actually call and say that?
Yeah.
My
Alright,
cat,
The cat ate it.
The cat ate
I've
the
heard of
dog.
my dog
Yeah,
did,
but
but
a
my
cat.
cat.
I'm ready for my
Here's
ballots.
some, here's some, right here.
There's some down here.
My cat would eat a ballot.
Right here?
Mhm.
That cat needs to stop waking me up at 3:30 in the morning, we'll have problems.
Pandora, I got a thing from the state, talking about access to, it looked like some new training modules. Do you know anything about that? Are we expected to be doing that right now, or?
I don't know, did they say that it was available?
Yeah,
Did they say
Yeah, it
was
was strange,
it,
because
was- it came in on my regular mail, not my Gmail account, and it,
I've got something.
it sort of said you had to remember what your old password was,
It was
which of
from
course I
Ted-
don't.
what,
It's from
Ted?
Ted
It was
Fitzgerald.
Ted
It's-
Fitzgerald, wasn't it?
I think it
no,
was,
it's James somebody or another.
yeah, I think it's when we,
Well, he's doing it too, James is.
yeah.
Well, it was kind of funny, because it was,
Cause I'm thinking, why would they do that in the middle of an
Well, I
election?
think it's the, when we had our, training, remember when they told y'all the module, I think all of those PowerPoint presentations,
But it came to a different email address than what I registered.
Well, be careful.
yeah, I don't know about that now, it's supposed to come from the one you registered with.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
it
look.
came in under my.
Remind me, and I'll look at the one I got from Ted. Was it from Ted Fitzgerald? I
I
got
saw
No,
his
it was
name on
from
the
somebody
box.
else, it was
I
like
got
James
something from
Ray or
Ted
something like
Fitzgerald,
that.
I think. And probably, Merry Christmas.
What did you do?
I didn't open it up, I just.
I didn't have a number.
Yeah, no.
yeah, I thought, I don't want to do this right now.
Why did they send, my
Steve,
thought
take
was,
a
why
look
did
at
they
this.
send me
I
the
think
list of
I think I know the answer, but
Yeah,
too many
just
choices,
cast as
that's
is.
an overvote, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That means they won't count that.
That
zero.
Just that one race that won't count, yeah. Everything else will be counted.
Man.
You just made me not want to have an all-meal steak.
No kidding.
Not unless you've got one of those high-speed scanners.
Yeah.
Too many people don't know what
You see, Michigan
Just when she
has
said, "Oh,
to
I'll stay," I
start,
wasn't
can
thinking
only
about
start
my-
counting 7 o'clock the election day. All the absentee ballots have to be counted in one day.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Well, no, they're not expecting they'll count them all in one day, it's just they can't start until election day.
But
Right,
is it 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.?
right.
That's
So
how
you have to-
Oregon,
so you
They
have to
can't start until
Oh,
election.
right.
That's,
It's just, it's sort of like it's set up for making everybody curious and.
now Oregon's a double envelope state, but they open the outer envelope and put things in.
Oh,
there.
right.
Pennsylvania too,
Oh,
right?
okay.
In Pennsylvania that way?
But
Then
they
you
still-
So, but if
the
there's
inner
not a
envelopes
safety
have
in the
to be
way, then
open.
they discount the ballot, right?
Yeah,
Isn't Pennsylvania that way too?
I think North Carolina actually has its act together.
Yeah,
reading about all the good states.
I feel good about it. Always gonna be.
I also felt good about, tell me if I'm wrong about this, that stuff about the bots that were getting ready to possibly affect election software. Microsoft is taking it down, it's
Our
a,
machines are not connected to the internet.
yeah.
I think that's another thing. I had a lady that called this morning that was asking about the process, and she goes, oh, well, that's not what they're saying on the news, but there's your problem. And if you wanna know how it's done, call the source, call the office, and they'll explain to you how they do things. Listen to the commentator.
Well, most people don't realize elections are conducted differently in every state. I remember
Yeah.
somebody coming to one of our meetings once and she kept saying, well, in New York, like we were just so behind the times here.
Hey,
That's
in
the
some
thing.
states, there's some difference from
They
county
call
to
and
county.
say, well, in New York,
Yeah.
I thought the capital was supposed to stop that.
yeah, I need you to go to,
Where do we, what do I
you
put
go
this?
Sally Seated setups.
Hey, where do we put this?
Yeah.
What do I put this on top?
Yeah.
You might get that.
We forgot to lock the door.
That's a
I
place.
know.
Oh, you want this out?
You said somebody was gonna storm in here.
I did, didn't I?
Ah,
How'd it go? Were we able to fit all the tables and?
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have two checkers here, so it's not really.
You check it?
Yeah, this will be good, everything's good.
How many laptops you need?
We have five, so we need to pull that.
So, two check-ins, I would put, since they may have a lot of curbside, though, we would put up, our computer over there for curbside.
Yeah, we can do that.
Put it for the curbside.
Yeah.
That way
The
you,
good thing is you can see curbsides.
yeah, just put it, yeah, don't let the computer sit there. Next time you go there, put it over there, make it two curbside computers and one help
Yeah, I
desk.
got it. I got it for Carl.
Yeah.
and where?
Okay, that'll work out well.
That's gotta be transcribed.
Right, where's the envelope?
Oh, print out,
We don't need
go look at the ballots that you can transcribe and just print one out or
It's in
whatever.
there, it's in there.
But we gotta do the transcribing.
This was my head.
Sorry, but you don't need to go low.
I know, I know. They have steak yet.
No. Right
The
there.
envelopes, the envelopes need to stay together, whatever machine.
Yeah,
But it doesn't have
Doesn't, that has to go on
Not
there.
with the transcribed there.
No.
Oh, you see the under the thing, just, when you put the new ballot, just put it on there with the.
Okay, Ryan, need more ballots, need more ballots.
Here, just grab any of these files.
Rolling.
There's one on the floor here, they're gonna,
What, that needs to be transcribed?
that one on the bottom there is,
That one needs to be transcribed, the one on the bottom. You know, you copies,
Chuck and I
it's
do,
for their, Pat, the name tag that I told you.
Or would you rather be found?
Yeah.
I'll go over there and make them.
Do we need,
Whatever. You know,
What do you got me give everybody else?
When I get that opening, you can take over one of them.
If you don't do them now, you can. Yeah, get that out of your way. You only want something else?
Chuck,
Lots of sign.
can we GIS pictures of some time? Some of those big posters,
I doubt it, I don't know. What do you wanna say on it?
just, if you,
And what are you gonna put it on, first of all? I mean, we gotta figure out what we're gonna put it on.
yeah, we got rid of all the old curbside voting stuff, didn't you?
Hey, Steve,
We just
Yes,
have
sir.
the ground.
I tried this one 3 times.
I've
There's
got-
white out on the
Something
barcode.
like
Okay,
that.
if
What-
it-
what
there's
do you-
white out, it's
what-
probably
what
not
do you
gonna
want
take it.
on the sign?
So you can just stick it under there.
Just like maybe the number of the office,
Gotta be transcribed first.
something like that, nothing,
I could put, the only thing about it.
If it's got a whiteout, Frank, it probably
It
ain't
needs
gonna
to
take
be
it.
somewhere where people can see it before they get inside 50 foot.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I do,
Was it yours that had a whiteout or mine?
what were you gonna put on the one that was?
Oh, okay, if it's got a whiteout mark, it's not gonna
Readers,
take it.
like the look like reader.
We got them, what happened was when I ordered one time they left off his first, so he sent me more, so we got the two-sided thing.
This one goes
Okay.
under.
I could put
Frank's.
that on the reader, not the reader on there, but that would be 2 two different things, you know what I'm saying?
I'm just wondering, like, if we could print something up, if they're two-sided signs that are going up, there's like something that we could print up and just laminate.
We can, but on one side,
The military and overseas.
I don't want to show two different things on one
Yeah,
side.
yeah, I was just thinking.
It depends on where you're coming in.
Hit a rough patch.
You may see this and you may not see that.
Okay.
It just needs to be one sign.
Okay, so we're
I
set
don't
for
wanna
this.
put,
She's
on
got
there
to
about
do
the
the
voter intimidation.
She's got to,
I don't wanna put that on there.
One,
Right.
next Monday, a week from today, no, yesterday.
Yeah.
Cause that can distract, seeing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
She
do.
has to
And another thing,
fish or cut bait with
the
work.
more you have on something, the less they're gonna read.
Yeah,
So it just
I
needs to be
think she's gonna
something
have to
that,
quit.
Yeah,
if you feel intimidated, call.
She's very
yeah,
upset about it.
exactly, very
She thought
simple.
Yeah.
she'd be further along.
Yeah.
I was just thinking eliminate, because
Maybe I
then,
can, maybe I
Yeah,
can.
we'll have to laminate.
There you go.
But I don't know if we have, we gotta get some legal lamination.
I told her she'd probably make more money as a
Legal size.
consultant,
Actually, two of
We
them
got
are,
the
just
regular.
take a ballot out.
Because I made those signs out there.
Transcribe.
but you
yeah.
know,
I
you
mean,
know how
it's
long
big,
she's been
if
there.
it's all right,
That's a
that's
hard one
Yeah.
to
the
swallow.
lettering's big enough, then.
And,
We've
but
already
we need,
checked them.
legal,
And there's a
legal
report,
size.
the MIL numbers.
Could we put it on the 50-foot
Okay.
marker? Sign,
You
do
mean,
we have
you mean write the
anything?
ballots or?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, this one here.
We don't even
Yeah.
have we just have that sign that sticks in the ground,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have a big sign.
Okay, so we've got military ballots here that, we can lay out for
But
us.
we'll figure on
We
it.
have
These are overseas,
one to
you'll get them.
transcribe and two to open. These
Okay.
are done, they've been checked off, we just need to check them off again.
Yes. Okay. Do you want me to call or you want to call? Did you do the verification? Okay, wait a second. For the,
We checked this too, so we're gonna check to make sure that it's
so
like a right ballot style for what.
okay.
I swear these are the same tones as
Here,
the slot
I'll
machine.
sign it. I'll call for the next round.
Well, there's no money.
Okay, you ready?
I'm waiting for her to get my payday.
Hey, that slot machine, none comes out for me either.
Yeah. There's no difference, right?
Holland, Stein, Wood, Wadsworth, Goodwin, Holmes, Marshall, Mangrum, Chatterjee, Beasley, Inman,
We've
Davis,
actually done a lot of research in what tones
Shields, Cubbage,
encourage you to bet more.
Young,
Okay.
Cushy,
At the same time, kind of relax you.
Cave,
They put sentiment into the.
What's that?
Scarlet,
Well, it's the sounds you hear in, like
Oh, the
those
sound.
bells of the slot machine.
The audio.
Yeah,
Ham,
they took those bells out.
Grigsby?
They
and
put
Rigsby, I'm sorry.
Okay.
sentiment into the
Oh, so, okay, so Rigsby,
Yeah.
Slavic, Ham.
get your
All right,
inhibitions
you
up.
won't pass
The
me a
free
pen?
drinks don't hurt either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Steve,
Yes, sir.
I need, this is coming up, too many choices for particular races, and then Sunday says to send it through, right?
Yeah, that's, accept as is.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the only one for this one?
Yeah.
And then we just have to
Yeah,
open.
we open those two.
Alright.
Okay, so 41 and 52.
Yeah, so this one is 41. Okay. There you go.
Sorry.
And, okay.
Yes, put the approval date of 10/13 on the vote approval date.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Oh, it is, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who was to sign these?
Lucas did, David Ramirez. He's already signed it, so we didn't need to sign this, but I'll keep it
Hey,
inside.
Dawn, where you like the energizer bunny?
Okay.
I don't feel like it is.
Still going, still going.
Let's keep them together. and
So,
make a motion.
a motion to approve the 3 military ballots? I've already signed it.
Okay, hold on.
You all,
Board,
yeah, resolution to,
Approve 3 military ballots.
We
We've
got a resolution.
examined them.
yeah,
A motion,
a
right?
It's
motion.
a motion. Okay, very
Okay.
good. Unanimous.
Who made the motion? Amy?
Amy, second by Frank.
I got it, Frank. And it was 2 ballots.
Three
ballots.
3
military.
military ballots.
Oh, I thought you said 2 of them.
There were 3.
There were 3, I miscounted.
Okay.
So keep those together, keep those
Yeah,
ballots,
I'll-
and we'll put them on top of it, so we can feed them last after we make sure the CRDs
Okay.
match.
Okay,
And then you got 10,
yeah,
the overseas,
okay.
which
I'm
will
gonna
go
fill my
sign,
age in the morning.
report, date check,
You feel it about,
Fill it
November,
check.
you feel it November the 14th.
same thing, check their ballots and numbers.
Really feel it too.
All right.
We'll be filling out some more
So
applications.
we'll approve,
Yeah. Not every 10th ballot, too many choices.
Just go in, you're gonna get a lot of that.
I'm a little, yeah, I don't like doing it, but I'm not
Yeah,
looking
but
at
I
it,
mean,
and I'm not looking at it to see.
no, I know what you mean, but is it, you know,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
All right.
when you go on election day or early voting, you'll see, ask the people in person.
These are the ones.
You get a lot of them where it comes back and then they gotta go back to the voter and ask them what they wanna do.
Yup.
Some of the voters
That's
say,
why they tell them
some of the
don't
voters
drive
say, I
off.
don't care, take it as is, and some of them say, spoil it, give me another ballot.
Okay.
Because the voter's not here for this, you have no choice but to accept it.
Okay, sounds good.
Cunningham, Price, Cooper, Collier,
Transcribe.
Stein,
Parks.
Wood, Wadsworth, Goodwin, Holmes, Marshall, Mangrum, Chatterjee, Beasley, Inman, Davis,
What are we talking about?
Shields, Hubbard, Stiers, Young, Brooke, Sheep,
Man, I was gonna be
Reeves,
intimidated.
Cade, Pendergrass, Murrell, Scarlett,
Not really direct.
Howard, Dasher, Flores, Grigsby, Havlet, and Mann.
This is what this says. It's something simple. I don't want something where we gotta read the whole bunch of stuff. Because that's the time for reading all that. You see
Or if you say, if you witness intimidation.
You know, I feel like, yeah, we just today, we are.
Hey, the instructions down for you now.
Are they really?
No,
It wouldn't surprise me.
They get scared and go home.
They don't, you know, I'm happy with what they did this year.
yeah.
Biden, Cunningham,
Yeah.
Cooper, Stein,
That was good.
And Total,
Yeah, that's right.
and Osuna.
Yeah.
Beasley, Damon, Davis,
I said, get out the video camera.
Shields, Hubbard, Stiers, Young, Brooke, Sheep, Reeves, Cade, Pendergrass,
I think that's fine.
Scarlett,
You had a book.
Grigsby,
You haven't gotten
and that's
any
it.
more.
Got
The
some,
bully
this one.
just is as afraid as you are.
I haven't cut it yet.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay. You haven't had any more that had any problems?
I have not, and I'm ready to do some more.
What's that, Mark? Let me have that piece
This
of
is
paper.
the extra
Yeah,
paper.
I'm gonna put it in that box. Uh-oh, excuse me.
Oh,
Here. Pardon me.
I didn't want to sneeze.
That's okay. I'm sorry. Oh, we got 2 more. Thank you.
There's a couple more.
So did this jam anymore,
Yeah, we got some.
So we just put it together.
Just kind
Fill
of
it
watch
out.
the back of it.
Okay.
But, we got another one. There's 3.
that works better.
It's different.
Yeah, this one's got design flaw in that.
Okay. Biden, Cunningham,
It is,
Cooper, Holly,
Like,
Scott,
Hey, remind me, I gotta make a set of keys.
For you, get you one on the play, yeah, on there, probably too.
I need to put a bread, I need to put a, I've got my spade.
Shields, Cabbage, Stires, Young,
I think there's a big one.
Bushy,
But I didn't
Reed,
Yeah, there's a
Cave,
200.
Pendergrass, Young, Scarlet, Howard, Asher, Laurel, Breaksby,
But unless they
blank,
fix that
blank,
cover
man.
Look it over one more
I
time.
wonder if it's like that on all of them.
That's probably-
You know what I'm saying? Maybe everybody like
Now, do I need to do anything
Here you
with
go,
the,
Kendall. These are the governor's call keys. Sir?
with the balances transcribing, do I need to do anything?
No,
Okay.
when they're,
What
when they're,
about
when
you
they're
all?
done
Did
over
they
here.
give y'all any
Oh,
keys?
okay.
Huh?
Did you all give you any keys?
Yeah, I already put them in the thing. You labeled them.
Did he do just like one key? Did he end up getting one key for every door?
Yeah,
Okay, I know he was having some trouble.
and yeah, we're not gonna use that one door because it's hard to lock.
Okay.
And in the middle room,
Cunningham,
it didn't have a lock.
Cooper,
And
Stein, Wood, Wadsworth,
he, Robert should be good.
Marshall,
Okay,
Mangan,
that's a good.
Saturday,
Yeah.
Any questions or anything? Come on.
and
What about that other?
Shields,
Yeah, me.
Cabbage, Stires, Wood, Bushy,
All right.
Reeves, Cave, Pendergrass, Neal, Scarlet, Howard,
You got one more, huh?
Flores,
One song.
blank, tell the rest of them. That one's good. Yeah, that's 88. This one. 88, yeah, so this one.
You do that. You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, one Republican. Let me have you don't mind transcribing the ones over here, so it'll save us time, so I'll feed. I'll get the machine. I'll give you this one.
Okay, where do y'all want me? Right here? There's someone's phone.
That's fine. Yeah, so leave it over, it's fine.
What are we doing?
Biden, Cunningham, Price,
You got a pen? You got a pen.
Holland, Stein,
You guys are filling up.
Wood,
Here,
Goodwin,
I'm gonna use my whole point is
Langdon,
broad.
Chatterjee, Beasley,
Right,
Gilman,
fat.
Davis,
Yes.
Shields, Cabbage, Stires, Young, Brook, Bushy,
Is that long enough?
Reeves,
Yeah.
blank, Burn, Cool.
Okay, we're duplicating, yeah, I'm gonna call out, you can mark.
Alright, and so, and you're gonna watch
Put
it.
DUP on there.
Flores,
Alright,
So don't forget to put DUP next to the CIV number.
Okay, CIV 4441.
you can't see so well.
Yeah, I can see.
If I do it like this, it's gonna be in your way. That's what I did.
Are you comfortable?
Don't know yet, let's try it. Let's try it.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Donald Trump, Tom Tillis, Robert Thomas, Roy Cooper, Mark Robinson, Josh Stein,
Trump,
Beth Wood,
Bray, Thomas,
Steve Troxler,
DeFiore,
Mike Colson,
Robinson, O'Neill,
That's big
Street,
enough, Mark.
I don't
Troxel,
know. That'll work.
Halsey,
I think
Dobson,
it's-
South,
Yeah.
Truitt,
Yeah.
Josh
Caldwell,
Dotson,
Newby, Berger,
E.C.
Behringer,
Sykes, Jen Mangrum,
Wood, Gore,
Dale Folwell,
Dillon, Carpenter,
Paul
Griffin,
Levy,
Glendon,
Lucy Inman,
Gilson, Bright, down at the county offices,
Tamara Berenger,
Howard, Clark, Wilkie,
April Wood,
and then blank for the rest of the
Fred Gore, Chris Dillon, next to a blank, down to the District 23, Tom Glendenning, George Gilson,
And then one,
next to blank, Sherry Merle, next to blank, Jay Staub,
Ready?
Jimmy Farr,
Button, Cunningham, Price, Cooper.
Andy Wilkie,
Stein, Wood,
Blank,
Wadsworth, Goodwin,
Melissa Havas,
Holmes, Marshall, Mandel.
David Ham,
Beasley.
Jay Lynn Mann.
Penman, Davis,
Done.
Shields,
There, we'll keep them together or what?
No.
Put today's board meeting date on the one that's been screwed up yet.
Put today,
Today's board meeting date, yeah.
Howard,
And then when it's good, I'll take it over.
doesn't matter where you write
It
it.
doesn't matter much.
Howard,
Today's 10/13.
And then go ahead and take those down there,
Where?
right here.
Oh,
I'll just transcribe it
Now,
now.
what do we do with this one?
I'm gonna put it right here, just leave it over there and I'll put it, I've got an envelope with it.
Put it down, make it new stack.
all right, now, I need some blank,
Here you go, I'm giving it to you.
oh,
All right, CID 2069. All right, ready?
Biden, Cunningham, Price, Cooper,
Donald Trump,
Holly, Stein,
Tom
Wood,
Tillis,
Wadsworth, Goodwin,
Robert Thomas,
Holmes, Marshall, Mandel.
Dan Forrest,
Beasley, Penman,
Mark Robinson, Jim O'Neill,
Shields, Hubbard, Stein.
Anthony Wayne Street,
Wood,
Steve Troxler,
Reeves, Kay.
Mike Causey,
Mills,
Josh
Scarlett,
Dotson,
Howard, Dasher,
E.C.
Wallace,
Sykes,
Frisbee, Howard,
Catherine
Ham,
Truitt,
and Mann.
Bill Colwell, Paul Newby, Bill Berger, Tamara Behringer, April Wood,
my, can you get, what kind of jobs in them?
No, I don't think, it's not
But
legal.
I wanna give you a word. We'll check to make sure this is yours.
Yeah, the last one you gave me.
Okay.
Fred Ford.
Hey, I got excuse me. I got an excuse
Jeff Carpenter,
Watch the video.
Jeff Griffin,
Shields, Hubbard, Sanders,
Tom Van Den,
Brooke, Bushy, Reeves,
George
Kay,
Gilson,
Penman, Neal, Scarlett, Howard,
Skip, on down to the County Board of Commissioners,
Grigsby,
Jay Stobbs, Jimmy Fogg,
Bar?
Just make a mark on it.
Andy Wilkie,
no,
Skip, Ryan Armstrong, Dennis Lewis,
That's fine.
yes.
done.
And that last one didn't work?
Skip.
All right, make sure,
One.
Just remind me when we're.
my pen's
So what
Let me go back, remind me to go back.
Okay.
So, Steve, this one you
That
just
goes
gave
with, that goes with.
with his stack?
Yes, that's why I gave it to
Okay.
you, because y'all are doing his stack.
all right, okay, it's working. Here we go.
Biden, Cunningham, Price,
It is, CIV 8577.
Wadsworth, Goodwin, Holmes,
85 cents.
Marshall, Mandel, Chatterjee, Beasley, Inman, Davis.
Okay. Joseph Biden,
Shields,
Cal Cunningham.
Coolidge, Stires, Young, Brooke, Bushy, Reeves,
David Price,
Pendergast, Merrill,
Boyd
Stubbs,
Cooper.
Howard, Dasher, Blank,
Yvonne Lewis Holly,
Grigsby, and then Blank for the rest of it.
Josh Stein, Skip, to the top of the page, Jessica Holmes,
So I guess this
Elaine Marshall,
was overseas that we just did.
Yes.
Skip,
So we need a
Ronnie
Resolution.
resolution,
Chatterjee.
that's not.
Chapter.
No.
Uh,
No.
How about
Skip,
that one
Skip,
next?
Yeah, it's overseas.
Okay.
we're gonna skip all the way down to, the bottom, Valley
Now, you wanna
Fishing,
make a motion and I'll second it? Okay.
Robert Reeves,
Remember
And
that,
it's
hold that thought.
on to the county offices.
All in favor?
Aaron Howard.
You all
Mike
approve
Dasher.
10 overseas ballots?
Mark,
Hang on.
say yes, say yes.
I'll go.
They're transcribing.
Okay.
Let's finish this ballot. then.
Franklin
Yeah.
Gomez. Flores. And Skip to the end. No, Mark.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, what
Okay,
else?
sorry. Motion to, approve the 10 overseas ballots.
Are you making motion?
Mr., yeah,
Ramos.
Mr. Ramos made it.
To do what?
To approve the 10 overseas ballots.
Overseas.
We just checked them down here, so all we need is for you to say yes. Thank you. Who's second?
I did.
I have them transcribed.
Yeah.
It's JD one
Okay.
thirty-four.
Okay.
Okay. Can I get y'all to
So
transcribe
you need
these
to
for this
date on
machine?
that, right?
Sure.
Okay, so
I'll
this
take a
is,
look
this
at all
is
of
their
them.
collection.
Just like you did this one.
Both of these.
Yeah.
This is 8, okay?
Okay.
Make sure that
Right,
you put
ready?
the duplicate for the new one, and then the CIV number, and on the old
Joseph
one that's
Biden.
bad, just put the day's board meeting date.
Cal Cunningham.
Okay.
David Price. Roy Cooper. Yvonne Lewis Holly.
What should do it?
Josh Stein.
So we'll write
Beth
7,
Wood.
378.
Jenna Wadsworth. Wayne Goodman. Jessica Holmes.
89.
Elaine Marshall.
And then, but I'll do this
Just check after you've done it.
Jen
Okay, that's
Mangrum.
fine. Didn't do
Ronnie
two.
Chatterjee. Sherry Beasley.
And then you'll spoil this one.
Lucy Inman.
Sounds good. Ready?
Mark Davis.
Cunningham.
Trisha Shields. Laura Christine Kubich. Ray Stiers. Ruben Young.
Holly.
Chris Brook. Valerie Boucher. Robert Reed.
Wood.
Samantha Cave. Hathaway
Wadsworth.
Pendergrass. Sherry Merrill.
Goodwin.
Beverly Scarlett. Aaron Howard.
Adams.
Mike Dasher. Franklin Gomez Flores. Lunday Rigsby.
Mangrum.
Melissa Havoc. David Ham. Jay Lynn Mann.
Beasley.
Oh, you're right on that one, right?
Inman. Davis.
This is CIV 13019.
13019.
Shields. Cuppage.
Joseph Biden. Cal Cunningham. David Price.
Young.
Roy Cooper.
Brooke.
Yvonne Lewis Holly. Josh Stein. Beth Wood.
Reed.
Jenna Wadsworth. Wayne Goodwin.
Pendergrass.
Jessica Holmes.
Mural.
Elaine Marshall. Jen Mangrum. Ronnie Chatterjee.
Howard.
Jerry Beasley.
Dasher.
Lucy Inman. Mark Davis.
Flores.
Trisha Shields.
Rigsby.
Laura Christine Covage.
Winters.
Gary Stiers. Ruben F. Young.
Ham.
Chris Brook. Valerie
And Nan.
Boucher. Robert Reeves.
Alright.
Samantha Cave. Hathaway Pendergrass. Sherry Merle. Beverly Scarlett. Karen Howard.
35.
Mike Dasher. Franklin Gomez Flores. Lunday Rigsby.
Ready?
Melissa Havoc. Dennis Lewis. J. Lynn Mann. That's it for us. Is there anything else? What is it? I think this goes in,
I'm ready, I wanna do one.
where did this one come from?
That came,
Which machine?
oh, he's just.
Those were also mine right
So
there.
what's this right?
They
Oh,
go
is this
right
one?
there.
All right, so,
We're
we gotta
done
put,
with- We're done with that one.
We done with it?
oh, this is the one.
Is that a date on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the one you just did.
Yeah.
That's all the
Close it,
transcription.
Don't be trying to trick me, Mark.
All right, so.
He's gotta go get the list, so you can.
Can you put these in now as we
Yes.
do them?
Yes,
Check them off.
thank you.
No sugar.
Truett,
Thank you.
No sugar.
Caldwell,
If we accept the military.
I know breathing my own breath made me realize I gotta wash my teeth more.
Berger,
Washing your teeth,
Behringer,
Mark.
Wood,
What can I do to keep us
Ford,
moving forward?
We can't do anything, you bring the list back.
Dillon,
I'll be out right on those, I'm on top, man, I'm rolling.
Carpenter,
I'm right on that. These are right on
Griffin,
top.
No. These are getting ready for, validating the accounts after the fact.
Yes,
Wilson,
Oh,
get ready to call them for the list.
remember, Peter, keep the rubber bands on and keep
Blunt,
them on.
Blunt,
I just,
and Blunt,
Yes.
I'm teaching you this.
Okay.
This is important.
Staubs,
Okay, you're talking to someone who's a little bit OCD.
Joe
But
Staubs.
I like your, no, you need,
Peter,
no, you
I'm
need.
OCD. I know it's time to clean that
Jimmy
paper.
Carr.
No, you need-
I used to get, joked at because
You
I
got it.
was dirty laundry,
No.
and put it in the laundry.
If we put this one like this, you'd have a seizure.
Me too.
Me too.
That wouldn't work, not for me,
I'm freaking out.
not for me.
I'm freaking out.
No, it's like, oh, it's
Bobby saw that, and I'm like, I'm like, what are-
well, this is real important.
bifunctional.
You want this.
And not leave it out of work.
Biden,
No.
Cunningham,
Throw them all around.
I can't take it. I can't take it. Peter, you didn't notice that, did you?
Hey, Peter, I'm gonna take a rubber band off of this stuff.
Oh,
You need to
no.
clean this up. You need to clean this up. That's what-
489.
Polly,
If people see it,
It is.
they think we're not-
This is before, this is everything.
They don't really do it.
First of all,
Wood.
make sure to take a rubber band.
No, don't do that here.
I've had people do that kind of
Is that last
stuff.
one?
No, we're doing the last one now.
Okay, thank you.
Holmes,
This machine's done.
Marshall,
We started out with 2,000.
No, it's a good, you're lucky.
Just as long as it's within the bounds of progression.
That's right.
2,300, 62.
Beasley,
Wow, you're handy.
So we get everything on this machine.
Oh, okay.
Davis,
I don't feel my age.
413.
Well.
This machine here.
Hughes,
I'm 16.
We started.
Oh, Peter, I need to pickle up that paper.
That I'm okay with.
You know, it's bad.
Young,
I know.
It does not, what happened to it?
That bummed me out.
I don't know what you did, Peter.
Did it fall off?
So I don't know where machine there.
Well, it doesn't matter, you know what.
We can fix it.
Reeves,
It fell off somewhere. Is this all of them?
okay,
Did they give it to you? as a
Enterprise,
transfer?
Hey,
Are they all?
here's
Yeah.
something
they're
else.
10 pesos.
Well,
So-
something mixed up.
Steve needs to
Yeah.
take those.
See, the others, I don't like them.
Howard,
Don't want them to
These are
get
big
mixed
on
up.
order.
I don't like them to get mixed up.
Thatcher,
Yes.
That's
Mine
the
is 1920,
special.
1928. Yeah.
Flores,
187.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yes, I like it.
and the rest of them.
I don't like that.
Well, it goes one, I guess we'll have to cut it in half.
Alright,
Two,
we're
three,
done.
Where you go, Pete?
It doesn't.
Yeah, we're sticking up somewhere.
Yeah, they're down at the other.
It's killing me, I really want It's funny, I knew he couldn't take it.
Didn't take what?
We're OCDing now, they said everything has to be,
All of us are kind of OCD.
or we, every other thing we could do is unravel it and just throw them up in the air.
No,
That's what I wanna see.
uh-uh.
Okay.
You have to put us all
Okay,
straight.
that's the last one.
Here's the last one.
We'll give you
Thank you.
72 hours.
All right.
Alright, so we got 598 civilians, which match what
our
our list
We got
was.
some matches.
Let me add it off all the machines.
Yay.
So I guess we can go ahead and feed the military and overseas now.
So it goes like that.
Yeah.
So now we can sign the form.
Really OCD.
Okay.
Now, we don't have any 15s here yet, either.
We
Put
know.
all- you put all this in?
Are those your spoiled ballots?
Yeah, they should.
We're almost.
Yeah, we already know that they
Down
we
to
mentioned
90.
it. So all we need to know-
Sent out.
Put them
Pretty
all
much,
in.
before we wrote the date of the meeting.
They're all, I mean,
Okay, so you have a place for these?
I've got an envelope, yeah. Alright, so you go
We're
ahead
on
and feed.
camera.
Oh, okay, the numbers matched 598. That's what we have on the list is 598, so if y'all can make a motion to approve,
Oh, really? Okay.
motion to approve the civilians,
Motion to approve the civilians.
All right.
They already did it, didn't they?
not the civilians, the military and overseas, I haven't done the civilians yet.
I'll
Hold
second.
on, hold on.
Okay,
Did you say military?
This is the civilians that we're doing.
598.
Civilians
All
are
in
598, military are 3, overseas are 10.
All right.
all in favor?
Yeah, you got my name in there. now.
Aye. Thought we already voted.
This
on
is
it.
civilian, right?
No, just the civilians.
Okay.
I had a motion for civilians at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, because we had to approve it before.
Yeah.
Well, the numbers match.
Okay, well,
That's wonderful.
alright,
They already approved
the
it.
board members that haven't signed,
They already approved it.
you two haven't signed the military and overseas, so if y'all would sign that, please.
Number 10, or you want me to?
Yeah. No, you can.
Donald, you can go ahead and start feeding me.
I'll let you do the overseas ones.
Come on, come
So
on.
now we need to start checking the ballots against the list, right?
Usually.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What do you need?
Okay, this is,
10 overseas.
Keep it counting.
3
Yeah,
military.
you should have the 3 military, which I already got.
All signed.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you.
Okay, here's the overseas, if y'all two need to sign.
10, right?
10 of those and 3 of those.
Yep. Thanks, Peter.
Here, put them in here with this one machine. So
Oh, same
Same machine, yeah.
Oh, well,
That
here.
way, in case we lose count of everything, we know. Well, in case if we lose
Yeah.
count, we know what's.
Let's see,
They keep on
Thanks,
doing
Peter.
that. Peter, pumpkin eater. I don't like to do Peter.
military's
Put her in a pumpkin shell.
Very well.
Very well.
Now y'all can start doing now, where is the list?
All right, these are all signed.
Here list. Okay, here's the list.
I won't do this stuff.
Yeah, I'll let you handle it, that's what.
Okay.
Now what do
I
we
got
got?
left out.
Now y'all gonna do the list where you mark them off.
Oh, the mark list.
You got one for us?
Need a red
Huh?
You got a list for us?
I got
I think
0 to 99.
We need
I
a
think
red.
they're on the end down there, aren't
Here,
they?
give me the
Oh.
O's and the 1,000.
Yeah.
The mark list?
No, these are just, this is just the paper.
I'm gonna give you
It's
2,000.
not valid.
Give me the 2,000.
Yeah.
So are you calling? I think
Call
Frank-
him, baby.
Okay, Frank's on mark.
I got a mark.
They threw me a bunch. Give me some.
I'm ready to mark like a
I'm gonna let
crazy
him
man.
get them. He's got them in order, so.
Here, let's get away from this guy.
Oh, they're going, you're going mark.
I'm going to mark. Okay.
Frank, why you just sit at your desk and I'll sit behind? Is that the
Yeah,
way?
or I tell you what, yes, the answer is yes, but we're gonna, maybe if I see across from me.
Oh, that's fine.
That'd be better.
Alright,
Checks.
Alright,
He's in the office.
Uh-oh.
You won't start at the top, you'll start somewhere else.
Okay.
anyone got, may I use
You'll
this
hear
chair?
it.
You wanna go with
Peter,
yours
you want
for a
this
minute?
chair?
You can ask.
Okay.
I'll call. Go check.
Coffee,
You got a
right
red pen?
there.
I got a purple pen. Do I need a red pen?
Yeah, use your red pen.
Okay. We're supposed to use red pens, y'all.
There's top.
You got red and blue,
now we're doing CIVs, right?
unaffiliated.
There you go.
Okay, what we got?
Strong number.
Okay, our first number is
Oh, you gonna check on it?
You'll still find it.
on backside.
21, 28.
Oh, there it is. That's CIV. And where was that?
Oh, for the,
I think.
it's a six.
Yeah, 135.
Well, it's
All right.
5,000.
We've only been
Great,
through the
135.
4,000.
Go.
But this is not,
Yeah, you're on the
Hey,
back end
Peter,
of them.
this is the one that's already been checked off before,
Yeah,
this is the old.
200, yes.
Are we just rechecking on the same list?
All right, 5,000.
Check.
I thought you
You-
printed out a new
Yeah,
list.
the old ones should be not in red.
No.
Check.
These are all in blue?
Yeah,
We're
so
just
the,
using that
Yeah.
same old list?
yeah, the blue was when we counted them ahead of time. The red is afterwards.
Okay.
630, check.
What am I saying?
You're looking for 1102.
That's what it is.
Okay, so
Wait a second, he gave me the wrong list. He gave me the wrong
I'll
list.
tell you what you should have.
54, 11.
Time out, time out.
699. What do you have?
Gave me the wrong
7,000,
list.
Here.
What's wrong with it?
Wait a minute.
They've already
Oh,
been
I
checked
think,
off.
are you gonna tell it for the
This is the right list, he gave me the wrong list.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
well, you're just rechecking and you're red, so what's the difference?
That's everything.
Because we accepted
Oh,
that.
you've already.
Yeah, but
So
that's
let's
the
put a new
older
sticker
version
on
Yeah.
there.
I mean, oh,
You-
it's not the one that y'all checked out today?
Including military
No.
numbers.
Okay, so,
Okay, well, let's
you gonna take this one down?
Yeah, take it all down. Let's put the-
Where'd you get that from?
Well, this is the first list before the 5 missing ballots came out.
Okay, well, throw it out.
1140, check.
Yeah, that shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah, I don't know why that was in here.
1275,
Take it away,
check.
put it in that box.
No, it goes.
Mark.
with this.
Mark,
1395.
Mark.
you got a bad list.
Stop what you're doing.
Hold up, wait a minute.
Looks like
Your list shouldn't, if they've already been checked, that means they got checked.
I was in there.
You're getting a blank list. This means they checked them before the meeting. Now you're getting a blank list, so y'all can check them
We
off
gotta do
again.
this again,
I'm gonna
right?
let you start with that.
That's all right, we'll
Go
try
to
it.
this.
So which list are they
Okay,
getting?
hold on. Got it.
They go to the back side of that.
No,
No,
Peter,
no, they're getting those and,
yeah, we're the 11,000s and up.
these go over to Mark.
We got a 3,000.
Shouldn't have a bad list in here.
Got it.
Alright,
I'm gonna steal some off the back.
I've got, oh, we gotta do it,
Got it.
oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay.
Got it?
Done it.
5411.
11, I mean, 135.
Yeah, check.
Got it?
37,
Check.
166,
Well, it still doesn't have our first number.
Yeah, they're on the back of her sheet.
Got it?
216, check.
Alright, so I'll look for.
Check.
So you'll look, yeah, you'll look for whatever number that list starts on.
264,
Check.
677.
Got it?
369, check.
Yeah, I'm looking for
Put this in the
Alright, here we
reserve.
go.
It needs to go in there because it doesn't show that they did it together before the meeting. That's why I keep these.
Got it?
Okay.
Hopefully
So you had it before.
11230.
Check.
877, check.
There's 11232. Got it?
Check.
I'm just gonna use the last three digits,
Yeah,
okay?
it's called CYA.
266,
No, yeah.
270, 287,
Yes,
280,
Got it?
295,
Got it?
301,
Got it?
332,
Got it?
367,
Got it?
384, 427, 424, 440,
1118,
477, 502, 523, 500, 516, 517, 518, 520, 521, 522, 523, 524, 525, 526, 527, 528, 529, 530, 531, 532, 533, 534, 535, 536, 537, 538, 539, 540, 541, 542, 543, 544, 545, 546, 547, 548, 549, 550, 551, 552, 553, 554, 555, 556, 557, 558, 559, 560, 561, 562, 563, 564, 565, 566, 567, 568, 569, 570, 571, 572, 573, 574, 575, 576, 577, 578, 579, 580, 581, 582, 583, 584, 585, 586, 587, 588, 589, 590, 591, 592, 593, 594, 595, 596, 597, 598, 599, 500, 501, 502, 503, 504, 505, 506, 507, 508, 509, 510, 511, 571 613. 630,
Check.
648,
1505,
681,
Got it?
1586,
703,
Got it?
711,
Yeah.
What time is it?
Yeah.
738,
Check.
I don't have to be there at the start. I can go there after I finish.
764,
He's got enough people to go.
770,
Yep.
It's gonna be at the end of the day, he's gonna have something to do. He's not gonna wanna stay
833,
when there's a line.
Yep.
67,
Yep.
755.
835,
Yeah, that was a full bill. Full bill.
848,
All in order.
853,
Yep.
A handful.
859,
Yep.
So the question.
871,
Yep.
942,
Yeah.
and that's the end of the 11. Is that right for you?
Got it? Got it.
2003.
First
I
one is
tried.
12007.
This is something we don't need to do.
Check.
Right.
This one.
That's what it didn't have any signature on it.
Yeah, let's do the seven.
Aside from that, all the rest of it.
24 and 35.
Yep.
Oh, sorry,
Check.
013, 063,
25,
Only a handful had to be manually put in.
25, 45.
Check.
1, 2, sorry,
Even with the red,
147,
postmark right across.
753,
Yes.
1964,
Got it?
213, 450, 458,
Got it?
285,
Check.
301,
Yep.
318, 395,
Got it?
359, 371,
Check.
374, 375, 384, 415, 432,
Check.
447,
Yeah, they said,
Got it?
That must be Steve's spot.
474,
Got it?
571, 516,
7-4s?
Yeah.
518,
We're still, okay, so
550,
here's the page with the eight.
671,
Want me to do the eight?
Yeah, let's go to the eight.
632,
Who's got,
649,
They got the first part of the report.
why don't you give them the fours and my page?
Will do.
you got
And we'll take the
632,
eights here. Okay,
Okay, 14.
got it.
Shoot.
Not done yet.
Down again.
Oh, no, you're not done. This goes
21.
at the back.
Yes.
29.
Yes.
this number is 649,
81, 24.
That's me.
81, 26.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so we're at
Got it.
3023.
Check.
Okay, got it.
8200.
Okay,
Got it.
got it.
82.
649.
Yep,
Right.
31,
Got it.
check.
655.
got it.
no,
31,
687,
Got it.
226,
655.
703,
Check.
3256,
Check.
704,
Check.
731,
3272,
737,
3329,
740,
3471,
741,
Got it.
90,
765,
3511,
775,
Got it.
800,
Got it.
804, 806,
Yes.
815,
Got it.
Are we on 35s?
yeah, I think this is
878,
Got it.
I've got
891,
3655.
898,
Right.
954,
27.
Yep.
well, here's 3655.
What did you have here?
8636.
now we're at the 13.
This one was
Yes.
8739.
Yes.
3565.
Alright, 3560.
004,
Yep.
3772.
017,
Pardon me, you say,
019,
yes, I've got it, here's
Got it.
3637.
Yeah.
91.
Yes.
044,
12.
075,
8881.
080,
8890.
Yep.
111,
Yep.
14, oops, sorry.
I think that's a
116,
Right.
143,
37, and I guess it's
151,
either 3 or 8.
171,
Right.
183,
Right.
184,
Right.
191,
9015.
Yes.
209,
45.
303,
Yes.
306,
Yes.
118,
Got it.
69.
Yep.
946.
Yep.
33.
Yep.
It's,
Yes.
63.
it's
Yep.
Ian Ashley.
308, right?
Yep.
43.
Okay.
322,
62.
Yep.
337,
3637.
9,
Yeah.
84.
Yep.
3, 655.
Yep.
65 is the next one.
389.
Check.
Yep.
422.
Yep.
426.
Yep.
474.
Check.
475. 580.
3721.
Yep.
Check.
679.
Check.
680.
609.
Yeah.
Yep.
3833.
Check.
630.
Check.
51.
Check.
634.
53.
Check.
654.
Check.
71.
655.
Check.
The top one's a pretty
I got 9963.
657. 660.
Right.
663.
Right.
666.
4004.
674.
Right.
686.
Yes.
696.
4010.
700.
11.
175.
Well,
Check.
707.
4145.
715.
Yes.
796.
Right.
505.
Wait,
Yes.
Check.
805.
Check.
195.
Check.
Yeah, bad printing here.
Yes.
It's an 805.
And then-
31.
806.
Check.
429.
Yes.
864.
Yes.
866.
42.
878.
Yes.
77.
Check.
92.
Check.
95.
Check.
Yes.
43.
Yes.
34.
Check.
Yes.
57.
Check.
49.
Yes.
49.
Check.
Yes.
600.
Yes.
Alright, we just did,
Yes.
43, 49.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Next one is 4375.
got it.
Now wait,
Check.
967.
No, 700.
Check.
4428.
Yes.
Check.
33.
Yes.
41.
Check.
967.
Just the front down to that, what's on your.
Check.
Okay.
1100.
Check.
Yeah, but these are all, this is not, you don't have the same.
45.
Check.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This we must have.
52.
Check.
Yes.
69.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Yes.
46,
105.
52
Yes.
is left.
967?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
969.
Check.
Got it.
Yep.
970.
85.
997.
Yeah, 48, 45.
Last one.
14. Check.
14,000.
Before that, it was 14.
Correct.
Right?
007.
Check.
Yes.
4991.
086.
Check.
050.
Right.
055.
Right.
056.
We're rolling.
072.
Right.
All right.
073.
Meeting.
076.
We need some more.
088.
Steve, give us some more. We're rolling.
129.
They got no more, y'all on your list, they're doing their list.
156.
156.
These
They
are,
can't be on your list?
Is that right?
No.
Yeah,
I didn't do this.
160.
They did that, yeah. Put a check mark for
Right.
the pay, if he doesn't,
Right.
you go
That's
down.
just marking the column.
214.
That's what it is, good. Everything's there.
270.
This is good,
I
everything's
got 274.
there.
They call it one. I don't know if they get the whole list.
249. 274.
274.
Theirs is done too, so
270.
I'll wait on this.
Right.
Did they change the law? Did they-
Okay, Mark.
300.
The law was normally.
What y'all can do,
308.
what y'all can do since y'all are done is verify the
314.
machine.
Right.
316.
Right.
318.
Right.
327.
Yep.
314.
Right.
432.
We should have
No,
done
because we're here on Friday.
435.
I think we need to,
We took that hill to make him go.
699, where we left off, this is 699.
453.
We'll give him a sign below here. Should I draw there? Maybe sign below, that's fine.
458.
Right.
Hey,
469.
close it.
472.
All right, that's fine. You want me to sign here?
477.
Well, the tape's gonna come out in a minute.
480.
When we, close,
481.
Once it's
482.
done, it'll give you, for you. Give me 1 second.
497.
Right.
488.
Right.
504. 506. 505.
Go ahead and do them all, yeah, we're done with them.
558.
I do.
531.
We're gonna try to keep
550. 554. 597.
We're supposed to move in 2 years.
699.
That's what they said
I
last
got
time, right?
698.
So what did David say
I
was?
got 597 and I got 698.
So you're hungry
Well,
now.
hang on,
Those was
they
fine
don't
about
turn up.
Tell me that.
Yeah, here it is.
I've been here since 6 in the morning, I need to move before I get back here at 6 in the morning.
For 24 months.
So I'll say yes
So,
to
yes.
698.
Yes,
Six.
698.
Hey, 698.
And then 699.
I need it back.
How long did we need this?
Right.
Yeah, that's just put,
Okay,
But it would've been good if we'd had.
they're all good.
put on your sticky note.
Well, we could have
Okay, there we go, so this is the page you're gonna
I
sign.
was thinking about that the other day.
2669.
Yeah, just the
It was
first
just
nine.
these
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it was dangerous the other day when
You're
we were.
testing me.
9-9.
See if I was awake.
So,
Is that it?
No, but I was talking to Lisa during it. 269.
Is this the old
She was
list?
funny.
Put today's date.
Tyler, she
The bad
sees
list that I
pick-
gave
And
you.
then we'll know when to start off, when to start.
And, do I need to,
No, no, you're
but
good.
then I read about it the next day,
All
cause
right, so you're
she
good.
was telling me they were like 21-0.
Yeah.
And then the third quarter, they,
Started
I
with
wanna find out.
2-3-6-2.
that's a crazy game.
Yeah, it wasn't
It
crazy.
was like, almost like a
Do the
basketball
same
game.
thing with this one here.
Yeah, David
Put the
texted me,
number
said,
on there and put the
I can't believe there's not any fans there.
He was working on both equipment.
Yeah, you wonder what happened to all the turkey legs that they used to sell at the stadium.
Kind of,
Put it
you're
on
on
I
the
bet
other
there's
side.
gonna be a deal.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You're on the other side.
10:13.
Now you know how it
do
all
we
works.
sign off on the bottom again?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so get a little crowd here, folks.
Excuse me. All right, we sign, we sign here.
You
sign
said
Why?
it's
I
claustrophobic.
was gonna say you're claustrophobic. Are you seriously?
No.
Well, there's no 6 feet.
I was gonna say you probably been a long
I
time
just
in
started
spaces.
I just don't like anybody.
128 right now. See that?
Lord, that's not nice.
I'm equal about it.
Why don't you do the same thing up here?
Been truthful, right?
2128, today's date.
You don't like it, that's not nice.
There's all the sheets and
Drop them in here with all this stuff. Drop all this
My
stuff
own
in there,
cat
I'll
doesn't like
reorganize it when I-
Your own cat doesn't like you?
No.
I'm not mean to him.
There's a
I
third
don't know
game.
what I did. Yes.
Sir.
with that way. Make people
Did you kick him?
See, that's one thing.
And how's your lovely wife, Donald?
Man, it's like,
Claustrophobic.
Debbie, he knows not what he says.
He's still married if that's what
I'm
you're
sorry,
asking.
Debbie.
He's still married if that's what you're asking.
I didn't mean
hasn't left
it.
him
I
yet.
didn't mean it.
Social distance.
Frank, you didn't
left
sign
like-
on the form here.
Thanks a lot, Amy.
Pardon me?
I'm just trying to get you in trouble with Debbie, clearly.
I know it.
Sign all that.
So done it, Donald?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, as soon as you've all signed, we can adjourn.
yes.
Yes. See you on Friday.
Yep, 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Yes,
Somebody,
And be prepared to stay
don't
for a
make a
while.
motion to adjourn.
yeah.
What we hear.
I'll make sure to eat lunch, or bring lunch or
I
something.
did. I can feel in the wind or something.
Mark, make a motion.
Andy seconded it.
How you doing? Very good. I gotta get in the minutes. Everybody signed, Mark, you signed in?
Not yet.
All right. Okay, we'll see y'all on
So I
Friday.
guess we're done. Are you,
With bells on.
I can close at any time.
close on down. Yeah,
All
we're
right,
done.
thank you.
Close down?
Thank you.
Did we adjourn?